Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Because It's Christmas podcast. Now, Christmas is the time of the year where we want to be with friends, with family, and with the ones that we love. And I am certainly an advocate for that. But as we all know, not all of us are so lucky to be with the ones that we love, for whatever the reason may be. Luckily, we have our family in Christ to help us with that celebration as well. To be with family in this season is extremely important because it is Christmas.
All the earth rejoice and declare, whoa, because it's Christmas.
Before we jump into this episode, just a quick disclaimer. Most of this episode was recorded over a live video chat, and the audio and the video doesn't sync up perfectly all of the time, and the audio quality might not be what you are used to. But this is truly a very special episode, at least for me. Alright, so here we go.
Alright, talking about family, today is a very special episode because today I am joined by my two brothers, Peter and Christian. Welcome, fellas. Alright, so let's start off by you just introducing yourself, telling people who you are, how you fit into the family, and what is your favorite part of Christmas?
Should I start?
Yes, please.
I'm Peter, I'm the oldest. That's how I fit into the family, I hope. My favorite thing about Christmas is actually, now that I'm being a dad of a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, is just the renewed hope that I got from this time in terms of their lives also being in the hands of Jesus, just because he died for their sins as well. It gave new life to the meaning, something that maybe over time you know, but it becomes something that you know, but now it's again something that you almost experience, which is great.
Hello, my name is Christian or Christian, depending on which language you speak. I am the youngest brother, and that's how I fit into the family. Obviously, you can see that Lodi is the middle brother. I think one of my favorite things about Christmas is really getting to spend time with the people that you don't normally spend time with, but more than that, actually realizing and renewing your perspective on what Jesus has done, and how the reality that he came to earth totally changed our lives. And every time we're singing a Christmas song in church, or we're listening to a Christmas song, and you hear all of the same cliche lyrics, but it's almost a renewed hope, as you said, a renewed vision and a renewed truth that you're still realizing today about the significance that Jesus' birth had in our lives. So experiencing that every year, I think that's my favorite part of Christmas.
Okay, cool. We had a talk about it years back, but we said that shops and stores keep putting Christmas decorations in the shops earlier and earlier and earlier. And I asked this question to other people. How do you feel about stores putting in Christmas decorations so early?
Well, the overall concept of stores having Christmas is just it's commercializing the whole idea, so it doesn't really bring Christmas spirit. It just almost, to me, represents the corporate greed. It's just another thing like Valentine's Day and Halloween and all of the other corporate holidays that they've been incorporating into the retail space. So for me, seeing Christmas things in stores actually reminds me that there's more to it. But I would say to put a hard limit on it, at least not before the 16th of November.
Or until Michael Bublé releases a new album.
Yeah.
Comes out of his cave.
I think I do agree with you with the corporate stuff, and you feel like when you walk in there, this is another money scheme. But whilst it's there, I do still enjoy it. When I walk into a store and I hear Christmas music and I see the Christmas lights, you kind of directly connected to this time of year again, and whichever feeling that you have in this time of year, you reminded of that. So I'm not opposed to stores doing Christmas decorations at all, but I do feel the corporate greed and everything like that. But everything when I get into Checkers and they have a special aisle just for Christmas, and you see the lights popping out there, thinking it's a rave, but it's actually just the Christmas aisle. I really love just walking down there. I never buy something, but I love just seeing it.
Now the thing is, here's what I said to people as well, is there is this entire part of it that's about corporate greed and commercialization and stuff like that. But the feeling I get with it is that it creates a love for Christmas all around the world, even if it starts off by just making money. But that makes it easier for us to incorporate the idea of Jesus Christ in Christmas. And if people already have a love for Christmas, they might be more open into hearing what Christmas is really about. Okay, so expanding a little bit on our family and the love for Christmas in our family. We grew up with parents that really loved Christmas. Our entire family, we usually had these big family vacations with a lot of extended family and had big Christmases. And we have a father that really loves giving gifts. And that is basically, I think, one of his love languages is expressing his love by giving gifts. And even though sometimes he didn't really go that well financially and stuff, he always found a way to bless us as children with gifts. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how Christmas is important to us as a family.
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I love Christmas because it's time for family to spend together, and we always find a way to do it. If it's on Christmas Day or just somewhere close to Christmas, and I think this might sound cliche, but that is the greatest gift of all. is being with the people you love. And I think, as you said, we grew up in a home where I think from a young age we understood the right concept around Christmas and being there for one another. And obviously having a father that loves giving gifts. Each year we do Secret Santa, and you only have to buy a present for one person, and then he buys presents for everybody. It's just a classic thing that happens every year. So I think growing up with that perspective, it has really it taught me something about generosity and really living a life of generosity and having to live life with an open hand, and it's easy to give. And I think it didn't even start just with Christmas. It just started with the culture that was established in our family.
Yeah, I think to add to that, some of our best memories obviously are those days, those December holidays with the family. I think some of our most vivid memories would be those. It's stuff that sticks with you and stuff that actually forms you to an extent. So it's very important, and obviously there's a lot of people that don't have that and not necessarily in a position where they can do it with family, or that doesn't have family. But it's also very important to make it a sacred time anyway, and then to find the joy in the season.
Yeah. I think a memory I can add to that is we usually drove very far to get to our holiday destination. And I think this speaks to all of us' love for music, and the love for Christmas and music fits together. And that's the reason why I started this podcast about Christmas music. But the memory I want to talk about is while we were always driving down to the coast, our father would put on this music to our frustration about the drie tenore, the three tenors, and we would usually get frustrated with that music, but somewhere along the line we all just embraced it and made up our own lyrics to the songs and started singing with all of these things. And I think that is good memories that we all enjoy, and I think it invoked fun and joy in our entire family, and especially for our dad as well. He likes a good laugh. And that usually made him cheer up a little bit, even though we've been driving for 1,000 kilometers by that point. But yeah, okay. So let's move on with this. And let's look at the song we're going to listen to today. Okay, since the first time I came across this rendition of this song, I've been totally in love with it. And our song today is The Little Drummer Boy from forKING&COUNTry. And we're going to look at the live recording of a show that they did a few years back. The studio version is also very cool, but the live performance is just kicking it up to a next level. So let's have a listen. All right, gentlemen, what are your first impressions of this song?
I can't remember my first impressions. I've listened to it quite a few years back the first time. But yeah, after listening to it again, it's always, I just love those passion the guys have when they hit those drums, and you can see it like just going all out for, almost as if they that little drummer boy that's just like giving his all for the baby Jesus in that group. So it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I also can't remember my first impressions because it was quite a while back when I first saw it, but it's a lasting impression. Because I still stand in awe every time I watch this video, and I think as a musician there's a lot of things that I can respect within this video, and I see a lot of stuff in terms of, and it's a very percussive song, and I think that's what they did right in the song and with the theme of the song as well. But it's really something to admire. I think the musicianship is brilliant. I think it's a brilliant rendition of the song. It really brought it back to life. Before they actually released their version of Drummer Boy, I always thought it was a very boring song because it's very repetitive. The lyrics are the same. It's pa-ra-pa-pum-pum the whole time. But this literally brought new life to the song, and I've earned new respect for the song. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a song that is synonymous with Christmas. Everyone knows it around the world. It is an old song. It's an all-time classic. But like you said, there was a little bit of a boring thing about it, and this brought it to new life. And these guys know how to throw a show. Obviously, the lights work with them, and the rest of the band, and the electric and the organ, and everything just going wild. That is an awesome and a good thing that you said. It's a lasting impression. I really remember the first time I saw this video on YouTube a few years back, and every year, doesn't even need to be Christmas, I go back and I listen to the song because the musicality of it is so awesome. And they are very good musicians, these guys. Okay, so talking about the song, let's have a look at where the song actually comes from. The Little Drummer Boy, originally known as Carol of the Drum, was written by an American composer called Catherine Kennicott Davis in 1941. So that's a while back. And the first recording of this was done by the Trapp family in 1951. And the lyrics, the singer relates how, as a poor boy, he was summoned by the Magi. I don't know how you say that word. It's spelled M-A-G-I. And when I looked at the pronunciations, the American said Magi, and the British person said Maggie. And we know a study Maggie. But the thing is, the lyrics talk about that, and that word, I'm not going to repeat it again, refers to the three wise men or the three kings. There's a lot of Christmas songs that also talk about we three kings, and it's how they summoned this boy to go to the nativity of Christ. And once he got there, he had to bring an offering. So they obviously gave gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and he had nothing to give. So what did he give? He played his drum for him. And somewhere in the lyrics says that he did this with the approval of Mary. And then the lyrics says, I played my best for him, and he smiled at me. And that's a very cool thought, actually, is I gave my all to him, and what did he give me in return? What does a baby do when he likes something? He smiles. And we all know that babies on the very first night don't really do anything but cry and maybe eat and poop and sleep and whatever. But he smiled at me, he says. And that's a very cool thought, I think. So having a look at specifically the lyrics, what is something that stands out to you guys?
I think the phrase that you said now, like Mary nodded and he just played his drum. Yesterday, I actually want to read something. So yesterday, I don't know if you know Brian Simmons, but he's one of the translators for the Passion Translation Bible, and he has a blog. It's called I Hear His Whisper, and So yesterday's post, this was now 12 December. So you put too much pressure on yourself. This is like God talking to us, right? You put too much pressure on yourself, too much focus on your ability to hear, to speak, to do what I ask you to do, as if any of it is contingent upon your ability. What is in your heart to do has been placed there by me. It has been breathed upon by my spirit, and it's my spirit in you that releases miracles. It isn't based on whether you have faith in what you do, what you can do. It's based on the faith that I, the living God, truly abide within you. If I am within you, I will manifest through you with the very little effort from your part. All that's needed is simple obedience to step beyond the boundaries that you have created. Boundaries that set limits on what you believe I can do and cannot do through you. Don't look to yourself when I ask you to do something, checking to see if you have the faith for it. Look to me, the one who is the embodiment of faith. It has never been, nor will it ever be, about what you can do. It is about what I can do through you. I'm the all-powerful one alive in you. And that little boy just not trying to, perform. He's just like playing his heart out. He's just like drumming along, and he's just going, and he's just like, I can almost see that little, it's almost, in my head, it's like a little 5-year-old boy. It's like, there's not really much rhythm or anything. It's just like enjoying his heart out and just playing for the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And he's just like going at it. And that's how we should be. We should just be free and just be ourselves, and what he placed in our hearts to be, we should just be that. So that's something that stood out to me, and it's something that yesterday's blog has obviously reminded me of.
Yeah, I think I agree with that statement, and this reminded me constantly of how we can start measuring ourselves within a secular context. We all have certain goals that we want to reach, and we all have a certain standard that society puts down for us. And a lot of times we are disappointed when we do not reach those goals or live up to the expectation of society. Whereas this is something much different, and I think it reminded me of what the kingdom of God is like. And in His kingdom, it's not about the biggest house, the most money, the expectation of society. It's about making yourself available and actually giving the Lord a chance to work through you. So it's not because of what you can do, but what God can do through you, and making yourself available for His kingdom. And I think the heart that stands out of this was so cool for me, because I think the author that wrote the song, I think it was a she. She referred to the drummer boy actually being the drummer men or boys within the Civil War, and those times they had to keep time so that the troops would march on time, and actually playing different beats and different rhythms would send out different messages. And when I read this, I immediately thought that this drummer boy has an interaction with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, and actually that keeping time, and it's actually keeping everything that happened at that moment within rhythm of what is supposed to happen over there. It even says that the ox and lamb kept time. Pretty impressive animals, if you ask me. And I think it's just something that testifies of the fact that everything that happened in that moment was not just destiny, it was faith, and it was actually faith coming alive. And I think that's what touched me regarding the song, and actually the repetitive rum pum 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 pum. It's still keeping part of the rhythm and living in that unforced rhythm of grace, like Romans says, and it's in Ephesians actually as well. So I was reminded by all this when I actually delved into the meaning of the song and the heart in which it was communicated was so pure. And I also see this 5-year-old boy just playing because this is what he can give, and it's actually inspirational if you think about it.
Yeah.
I just want to add to that, like this podcast, lady, I'm almost feeling like this is like you're the little drummer boy, and you're just like doing this tick tick tick.
Yeah, that's the thing is, that's the reason we do certain things. And we're going to get to a little bit more of this once we talk in the later sections on how we're getting practical in our lives. But the one lyric that stood out for me is later in the second half of the song. It says, "I have no gifts to bring that's fit to give a king." And I like that lyrics because in it we already acknowledge that Jesus is king. At the moment of his birth, we already acknowledge that he is king. And all we need to give is our best and our all. So I don't have a gift that's fit for a king, but what can I give is what I have. And I can give it my all, and I can give him everything that I have, and I can just give my best. So even if you don't have much to give, you can give what you are able to. Psalm 33:3 says, "Sing to him a new song and play skillfully and shout for joy." And I think this fits perfectly into that. That refers more to music, but in everything in our lives, what are you good at? What did God bless you with? And how can you take that and glorify him in the things that you do? Christian, you said something about the repetitiveness of the param pam pam. So Miss Davies, who wrote the song, she's the author. So when she got the idea for this song, that was way back in 1941, remember? It's at the end of World War II. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, or in the middle of World War II. I can't remember my history. But in any case, she was trying to take a nap. Okay, so don't let people tell you naps are bad things. Naps are good for you. So she was trying to take a nap, and she was obsessed with the song that got stuck in her head. And that song was inspired by a French song called Patapan, or Patapan if you're in America, or if you're in France, it is Patapan. I don't know how to say that, but yeah, Patapan, whatever. And in her head, she translated Patapan to Parampapam. And that's where she got the idea for the rhythm of the song. And that turned into the little drummer boy that we know today. That's just a cool thing to know about this. Okay, so this song, like we've mentioned a few times, has many renditions. A lot of covers of the song has been put out there for different reasons by people. So the first recording, 1951, by the Chap family. But then it has been covered a lot, and one of the biggest credits goes to Boney M. You all know Boney M. I didn't even know this, but I did some research and I got across, and it said in modern music they are credited with bringing it back. Didn't know that. So then also by Bing Crosby and David Bowie, then Justin Bieber, the Biebs, he did one as well. Pentatonics, we all know and we love some of the stuff they do. And Lindsay Sterling, if you don't know her, she's a very good violinist and she plays awesome music. And then, of course, For King and Country, which is probably, and I think I speak for all of us, the favorite cover of the song. We've said that before. So speaking of For King and Country, let's have a look at who they are. So usually in the middle section of this podcast, we look at the artists. And today our artists are For King and Country. The band was started by two brothers, Joel and Luke Smallbone. They're Australians, but they moved to Nashville, Tennessee when they were children. Their dad was a music producer and he got a job in the USA. So they moved to Tennessee when they were children. Take a guess at how many children they are.
6.
Well, at least 2. We know that. No, there are 7 kids. So Joel and Luke are 2 of 5 boys, and they have 2 sisters. Their older sister is none other than Rebecca St. James. We all know her. She's a music star in the Christian music in the USA and across the world. And she's also a speaker at a lot of things. And I think she's probably an author. Most of these people, somewhere along the line, write a book, even if they pay someone to write it on their behalf. But in any case, so growing up in a family of 7, I think that would be quite a different thing. We were just the 3 boys. Imagine being 2 of 5, and then the 2 sisters as well, 7 kids. So their music careers actually started when they were teenagers. Both of them sang backing vocals for their sister. And that's where their careers basically started. So once Luke, this younger brother of 2, once he graduated high school, they started their own band. So their first band This was back in 2007. Their first band was called, very, very, very creative, Joel and Luke. Very creative. They later changed this into Ostoville. Ostoville. All right. I'm not sure where that comes from. Maybe Australia and Nashville together make Ostroville. That's what I'm thinking. And then they changed their name to what it is today, forKING&COUNTry. Okay, so I want to talk about something, and we have had discussions about this in the past, and I think we all agree on this, but we feel that family makes good music, and especially when it comes to singing and into making harmonies. So what do you guys think about the importance of family music and families making music?
I feel that when you're on the same wavelength, then music comes more easily. I just imagine growing up in a car, and like we said, we drove thousands of kilometers on December holidays and listening to the same music and then making up our own lyrics. But in that moments, you kind of find one another on a musical level as well, even if it's informal. And when you're on the same wavelength, there's this kind of automatic thing that happens that when you start singing, you're on this harmony and you're on this harmony, and it's just happening. And I think you find one another in that. Music is also a language that you need to try to understand, and when you speak it together, and I think when you've done it for a long while, then it comes naturally. And I think there's something evident within forKING&COUNTRY's music as well. You can hear it's always the same brothers singing the same voices. It's and you can hear the distinction between their voices as well. It's just because they found themselves within that level of harmony. And I think it's special as well. It's not just something that's on a musical level. I think sharing that with one another, I think that is something that not a lot of people can do. And I think it's truly something special to have and to, just to display and to experience with one another. I think that's the coolest thing for me is experiencing something that not a lot of people get to experience, and understanding one another on another level.
When you speak about family doing music together, I always just think of Dad. Whenever someone asks him, and what instrument do you play? And he's like, no, I play the radio. He's like, yeah, I think we've heard that joke 100 times, but it never stops being funny. So that's the only thing that comes up when you talk about us as a family doing music together.
Yeah, that's a good memory as well. I think we all have a very good sense of humor, and we definitely got that from our father. A very funny guy. Okay, one of the last anecdotes I want to share from the band is that in 2013, Luke got diagnosed with a life-threatening disease called ulcerative colitis. And it is a long-term disease that targets the colon and the rectum. I can't see that it's very fun to have, but it is actually life-threatening. You can die from this. So between 2013 and 2015, he missed 40 of the band's shows while he was losing a child from a very rare disease as well. But then he rejoined the band in 2015 after he had skull reconstruction surgery. That's just crazy. And the amount of things that these guys had to go through and to still be able to see the good in life and see the happiness in life. And growing up poor, as there were a lot of health issues, a lot of things with Luke, I know, shares something about the Burn the Ships song that they actually wrote about his wife and addiction and stuff like that. So they have a lot of hardships, but they make music, brilliant music for that matter. So speaking of other songs, they have a lot of non-related or non-Christmas related stuff. What are some of your favorite songs of theirs?
Well, for me, you just named it, the Burn the Ships. It's very relatable. I think a few years back, Gregory shot at the same topic for the talk in the GLS. It's just like Apprenticeships for them, it meant personally like throw the pills down the toilet and don't look back. But it's also a good way to approach life. I think at the end of the day, we sometimes need to bend the ships. Don't do plan B, because plan B is just almost the easy way out when things tend to get a little bit frictiony. I'm almost going to say frictiony. But when that's inertia for the new thing to start up, and then you want to pull out. So so I think that Apprenticeships is obviously a good song, and it's an easy, digestible song in terms of the music and everything. But at the end of the day, the lyrics eat hard.
I think one of my favorite songs that they wrote is "Fix My Eyes." It's a very nostalgic song for myself. It was in a season of my life where I went through a lot of character growth and everything, and I think the lyrics are so profound. It just speaks of a kingdom mentality as well. The gonna live like I'm not scared, give when it's not fair, live life for another, take time for a brother. I think it's the whole concept of actually being able to serve, and the one among you who is willing to serve, that's the one that's the strongest. That's what Jesus said to his disciples. And I think that's just something that drives in that kingdom mentality of servanthood, and understanding something different within the kingdom reality. And the way that you do that is to fix your eyes upon the truth of who Jesus is, and fix your eyes upon the message that he came to give, and giving your life for that. And I think when you give your life for that, it just changes the way that you do things, it changes the way that you approach things, and that's when you give when it's not fair, and you live life for another, and take time for a brother. And yeah, the lyrics are so profound, and it taught me a lot in a season of my life.
Okay, so at the end of every podcast, we usually get to a section we call Getting Practical, and that is when we take a look back at the song we've listened to and think of something that happened in that song, or something profound or whatever, and a thought that we can take away from that and make practical in our lives. So each one of you just give us a thought or two on what we can take away from this song and how we can make that practical in our lives.
Yeah, I think for me, pointing back to the previous comments about just living the dream that, or the vision that God put in your heart, and trusting him to actually bring it to fruition, and you just being the instrument, and like that, just play your drum and just do it with passion, and almost want to do it like, just go for it. I think at the end of the day, especially in the secular world today, it's like everybody be yourself and do all the right thing, do you go girl type of thing. But at the end of the day, it's like realize the vision that God put in your heart, and just chase that with passion, like passionately pursue that vision. And at the end of the day, take the pressure off of yourself, because at the end of the day, it's all up to God. It's his power, it's his might, it's his faithfulness that's gonna, at the end of the day, bear the fruit through you. You just have to be there and willing and able. Now, that for me, I think is you just see that drummer boy that's just like going and playing his heart out.
Yeah, I think I immediately thought about Paul's message to the Colossians. And I think he said it to a lot of churches throughout the years, but it's the fact that you need to live a life worthy of the calling that you have. And I think it was in Colossians 1 verse 10 where he said that that God is calling you, and that you have a calling upon your life, and you should live a life that was worthy of that. And I think this drummer boy stepped into a space of the kingdom where he started doing stuff that was worthy of his calling, and not in contrast with the fact that you still need to do something, but God is the one that brings it to fruition in your life. He's the one that inspires life and peace and hope within you. And I think doing that, finding your place within the kingdom and serving the way that you should, I think that's what the song is all about for me. Getting yourself to a place in the kingdom where you make yourself available to make a difference, and living a life worthy of your calling, and actually doing something with that, and trusting God to inspire people with the way that he uses you.
No, awesome, thanks. I think, the practical thought I'm thinking of is exactly a mixture in what you guys said, and summing it up basically is, even if you don't have much to give, God wants your all. What that looks like for you is different for all of us, and that doesn't matter as long as what you do is helping build the kingdom of God. And the talents that you have been given, what are you doing with that? And it brings me back to that thought of, or the piece in the Bible that says, when they looked down on the woman that only gave a few coins and someone else giving much. And it says, but what she gives is worth so much more because it's all she had. And don't give a little piece of what God has given you. Give all you have. And that is the thing. So thank you guys. That brings this part of the podcast to an end. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for your willingness and your participation. I appreciate your input and your general brotherness. I love you guys. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
See you next year.
General brotherness.
And that brings to a close yet another episode of Because It's Christmas. I would like to thank my two brothers, Peter and Christian, for being part of this episode, and in general just for supporting me. As you know, all episodes are available on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and also on Google Podcast. Also check out my Christmas playlists on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Music. All Jesus asks of us is that we play our part in building His kingdom. How that looks for you is for you to find out. The important thing is that you play your drum for Him. Merry Christmas, and may God bless you. Cheers.
All the earth rejoice and declare, whoa.